All hear me all right? I know you can see me back there. Good, thank you. I apologize for looking a little bit disheveled here. Rhonda Rutledge and I spent about an hour on the side of the highway, just about 10 miles north of here, at the scene of a terrible accident involving two cars, and saw Ricky Stokes there, who provided aid to the injured lady, and a lot of our finest police officers and rescue squad who had to cut her out of her car. Fortunately, people are okay, but that gave me a chance to see our great rescue squad and the sheriff and everybody pull together right there on the side of the road to save these people, and to see the respect we ought to all have for them and the work that they do. I want to thank y'all. So I hadn't actually cooled down yet from that. I'm just glad nobody was hurt. I want to thank you all for being here. The Republicans in the county, Coffee County, have been awfully nice to me, and I appreciate it very much, because I come from a background of hard work. You described my background pretty well, my family, everything I've gotten. I had to work hard for it. And, you know, my passion was getting involved and rolling up my sleeves and trying to help our community and our state. And that's what got me involved in politics. If you ask my wife, she thinks I had a bad head injury. But it's really to make a difference in our state. It's especially nice for me. It's ironic. I hadn't had this planned tonight to really be the day of my announcement for Attorney General, but I can't think of a better place to do it. I love the Wiregrass. I've spent years working in the Wiregrass area to help create jobs and economic development. That's my passion. It's what I try and do every day, and I know the situation here very well, and so I'm glad to be here. And I want to thank you all for your support in the past. We did something a little bit different. Well, before I go any further, I need to introduce Rhonda Rutledge. Many of you know Rhonda's with my campaign now. She was the grassroots coordinator for Senator Jeff Sessions and his campaign for for Senator recently, and it goes way back with Jeff. But let me tell you a little bit about, well, first of all, you may have already gone to my website and seen the announcement that we did on the web yesterday. I hope you will. If you haven't been, there's a lot more information on there. But let me tell you a little bit about how I came to this point and made my decision to run for this office. I've traveled the state tirelessly for the last several years working on behalf of Republican candidates. But I got my start working for Republicans when I met a guy running for Attorney General many years ago named Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions, like me, was an Eagle Scout from a small town, straight arrow, very interested in improving the state, improving this state. And Jeff took on a guy who was an incumbent, who had a lot of problems, and nobody gave him a chance. You can't take him on, no way. Jeff could get his whole campaign team at this table when he started out. But he believed in doing what was right, and he worked hard, wasn't afraid of hard work. And after a very grueling campaign, he won the office of Attorney General. And now he's in the United States Senate doing a great job for Alabama. Then he introduced me to a guy named Bill Pryor. Bill Pryor was a young lawyer, didn't have any political experience, just wanted to make a difference for Alabama. And Bill, similar circumstances to me, wanted to do the right thing. I got involved and was chairman of both of Bill's campaigns for Attorney General when he ran and won. So I have a great respect for the office of Attorney General. It's the most important office. As a lawyer, I believe, in the whole state. It's hugely important. It affects everything. It affects, ask our law enforcement guys out there, it affects everything that happens in this state. It makes us safe, supports law enforcement, has an economic development role all across the board. And I'm very sorry to see, I'm sorry to stand here before you today and have to be running against a fellow Republican. That doesn't give me any great joy. But I have traveled the state, as I said. I've talked to law enforcement far and wide in this state. I've talked to lawyers. I've talked to ordinary citizens. And there is an overwhelming urge in this state, in my opinion, for a change in that office. And so my announcement yesterday lays out very clearly where I'm coming from when I take on this challenge. is restoring the Office of Attorney General to the level of excellence that it enjoyed under Jeff Sessions and Bill Pryor. We had an office that was known as, if not the best, one of the best Attorney General offices in the United States of America. So now I wake up today, driving down here to my announcement. I don't own any newspapers. I'm not a newspaper reporter. And the headline that I pull into the 7-Eleven is AG workers called before a federal grand jury. The Attorney General's office of Alabama is full of loyal, dedicated, professional people. This is hugely embarrassing for the state of Alabama to have a federal grand jury investigating its Attorney General. All I know is what I read in the newspapers, and what I read in the newspapers you can all read. It's very disturbing. It goes back to an awful long list of things that apparently the grand jury is looking at, but it really is a failure of judgment, of maturity, and it has implications. And let's just take the situation here, because I'm sure that's on the mind of one or two people in this room involving country crossings. I am 100% for economic development. It sounds like a great development to me. I'm personally opposed to gambling. I'm like my father. My father used to say, son, the only gambling I do is when I put 2 quarters in the newspaper machine. That's it. That's how I personally feel. But there's no room for personal feelings if you're the Attorney General. You are in charge of enforcing the law. And there's a process to do that. The Attorney General, if asked by a government official, and I know your government officials, they are fantastic people. The County Commission, I've worked hand in hand with them tirelessly for years on projects. You've got the best economic development team in the state. They're great. I have no problems with going after this project. It sounds like it'd be great. When I heard it was going to have a Branson here in this part of the state as an economic development person, I couldn't be happier. Now, Branson doesn't have gambling, so somehow another gambling came along. Bingo. Well, there's a process, and the process is if there's some uncertainty in the law, and Lord knows there looks like there's a lot of uncertainty in what is bingo. You might be standing next to a bingo machine and not know it. Certainly not the kind of church bingo I used to play. But be that as it may, there's a process. And the process is to request an opinion. The opinion is rendered. If somebody likes it, somebody doesn't like it. It could be Bill Pryor. It could be Jeff Sessions. It could be the current Attorney General. There's a process for that. The person that determines what the law is the court. So, you like it, I don't like it. It goes to the court. The court decides what the law is. If we don't like what the courts say about our laws, then the fundamental way to change it is through the legislature. Pass and let the people vote. People of Houston County want to have bingo at this development. I'm all for their right to do that. That's absolutely okay, and it's fine. It's the way it should be. The issue I have, and the issue that I raised, was the way it was conducted. There's now a cloud over this development. I have nothing to do with it. Nothing. I've never seen it. I've never met the promoters. I've never been anywhere near it. Never talked to the governor. Never talked to the current Attorney General. I know nothing about who's got a dog in this fight. I'm just telling you there's a process, and the reason there's a cloud over it is not because of anything I've said. It's the same reason there's a cloud over the 2-year college system investigation. If you recall, the biggest investigation that this state will see in decades involves corruption in the 2-year college system. That is a system. How many people? I don't even have to ask. How many people have gone to a 2-year college in this state? They're hugely important to our economic development. They train people all over the place. People need confidence that that money is being spent wisely. It's not being stolen by somebody. The head of the whole system has admitted he's guilty of stealing from that system. Our Attorney General cannot participate in that case because he went to that guy and asked him for a favor. That's unacceptable. How can the people of Alabama have confidence that their laws are going to be enforced if their own Attorney General cannot participate because of an ethical lapse? So when I talk about this project, and I'm not specifically going to talk about this project, I hope this project is very successful. I have nothing to do with that, one way or another. The Attorney General is the one person who has control over that. And the way he conducted himself in this case is not me saying anything about it. It's go home tonight and Google this development in our Attorney General's name. My name will not be mentioned anywhere. It will all be about how he's conducted himself in this thing. And somebody said to me, well, Bill Pryor would have done the same thing. Well, I know Bill Pryor, and I know Jeff Sessions. And they would have followed the same procedure, but they never would have gotten themselves into a position where they could be accused, or an ethical question could even be raised. And that's the point of an attorney general. The attorney general goes back to the values that Jeff Sessions now learned as 13-year-old Eagle Scouts. You've got to be better than just the average guy. You've got to have the sense to know that you can't get yourself in that kind of position. Why would you allow that? You are being asked to rule on things. You are being asked to represent the people of the entire state of Alabama. That's the problem. And that's why I'm running for Attorney General. So I will do anything I can to help support economic development in this area. I've already done it. I've got a long record of it, and I'll be happy to talk about that. But if you've got a problem with the cloud over this development, if there is one, it doesn't have anything to do with me. So I want that to, maybe that'll give you a little bit of an idea of where I'm coming from. It's going to be a long campaign. People are going to have to decide who they want to be in charge of this office. But I'm just telling you, there's a reason why every district attorney in this state is crossways with the current attorney general. Now, if the guys that are at the point of the spear, the guys that are out there every day, guys and girls, in the courtroom every day, prosecuting murderers and rapists and bad guys, are united together and have a problem with our current attorney general, that's a problem. That is a big problem. You may disagree. They may disagree. The governor and the attorney general may disagree. They may well disagree. They should disagree if they don't get along on some issue. The governor, they're separate offices. The attorney general's got an obligation to enforce the law. The legislature makes the laws. The attorney general enforces the laws, and the courts decide what the laws are if there's a question. It's a very good system. It's been working for 250 years. But it requires, it demands that the people that institute the system, that enforce the laws, are ethical and above reproach. So I'm not taking any pleasure in saying something bad against a fellow Republican. But after 5 years, if you can't get it straight, and if the actions you take create clouds over things that can create great jobs for communities in our state, that's an issue. This would never have happened if Bill Pryor was Attorney General or Jeff Sessions. I'm confident, because they would have followed the rules. They would never put themselves personally in a situation where they could be attacked for a conflict of interest. And I'm just going by what's in the papers. I have no inside information. It's bad enough what's reported. They would have followed the rules. Courts could have decided. No one would have ever raised a question. So there's only one person really responsible for this whole mess, and it's not me. But I want to fix it, because if it can happen here, it can happen in the two-year college system, it can happen with other issues. Where does it stop? And we Republicans, and this is a Republican meeting, I've gotten on my Baptist soapbox for a minute there, but if we Republicans stand for anything, at least the party that I want to be a part of, it's for honesty and integrity. I mean, if we lose that, you can argue about issues all day. Issues come and go. But fundamental values about honesty and integrity and courage, the ability to stand up and having common sense to know what's right and wrong, that's pretty fundamental. If you don't get it, by the time you're a certain age, you may not going to get it. So, I really appreciate y'all having me. I'm going to slip out of here because it's been a busy day. And again, I want to thank you for having me here. You can go to my website. I'll be here often. I'm not going to run away because issues are tough. That's what the Attorney General is supposed to do. Come face the issues. I hope I've been very clear about where I stand on this. I wish the best for the whole Wiregrass area. I'm going to continue to be down here doing everything I possibly can to attract businesses. I've been in Korea. I've been around the world recruiting industry to Alabama, Hyundai plant, and on. It's the fundamental basis for families to have a job. And my dad worked at the power plant. He lost his job twice. I mean, I'm standing here as somebody who's been in those situations. So I know what a job means and how important it is, and having a good economic climate. But let me tell you, think about companies wanting to come to Alabama. If we have public officials, and I don't care if it's a Democratic governor and a Republican Attorney General, if we've got public officials that are in trouble and create headlines around the country, that affects the business climate of the state. It affects the business climate. It's unacceptable. If we don't have a governor, an attorney general, and a legislature that can't put their petty differences aside and work together. And I'm not going to let myself get into that situation. I've always got a 30-year record of working closely with people. I'll listen to anybody. I'll talk to anyone. I'll go anywhere. But I'm going to do what's right. So thank you very much for having me. I'm sorry I've got to get back up the road, but like I say, it's been a long day.
You were talking about, Governor, about the $13.5 million that he took from Choctaw in Mississippi Indians. What is that
I
about?
don't know. I've heard it.
It's in the papers. I mean,
It's in the papers, but I don't know.
So you can't believe everything that's in the paper?
It's what I've seen in the papers disproved it, and I've never seen anybody prove it. I mean, there's never been any connection with it.
So a lot of things that's in the paper is not true, right? I mean, you're saying this.
Look, I'm a politician. You ask me if I believe everything's in the paper. Listen, I'll stipulate to you that they missed a few.
I just want to know because I've seen so much in the paper about that, and I was wondering if it's
Well,
true
the
or not.
sad thing is that we have a grand jury looking at it. And that's very, very sad for the professional prosecutors. There's some reason that they're doing it. I have no idea why. But I will tell you, grand juries don't go after public officials lightly. They shouldn't. And if they're not, it's outrageous. Thank you. I hope there's nothing to it. I really hope there's nothing to it. But it's not just one event. It's several events, and it's documented. And I don't want to get into one thing. I want to talk about what I want to do, not what's going on there. I'm sorry that this is happening.
What you do, though, concerns everything and everybody. I mean,
What is the platform of your campaign? What are you striving for to be Attorney General of Alabama?
Restoring integrity and ethics to the office.
Jobs?
Well, the Attorney General is not in the business of issuing opinions just to create jobs.
Sex offenders?
Sex offenders, victims' rights, those are things that ought to go without saying. Those things are
They don't.
the basic. I mean, if you're an Attorney General and you're not taking care of victims and going after sex offenders and drugs, I've met with your sheriff and your law enforcement officials who do an unbelievable job, and I know about the meth situation in this county. It's disastrous. It's horrible.
It's sad.
But let me tell you this. If we have a situation where our attorneys general are not even communicating with our district attorneys are not even communicating with the Attorney General, they're not even talking to each other, then who's going to be an advocate for the county to go up there and get money for rescue squads, to get suits so they can go into meth houses? Who's going to be doing it if they're not talking? That's the situation we got now, and my platform is to change that. To come down here and get the sheriff's recommendation and go up there with an agenda and get it done. How is he going to get money out of the governor when the governor and the Attorney General aren't even talking to each other? I mean, that's a bad situation.
You are for jobs and you are for promotion,
Absolutely.
economic development, and the cloud of bingo you have an issue with?
Bingo is an issue for people to decide for themselves. I don't have any problem with the people voting for it. It's great. I'm just saying my personal opinion about it. I don't think it's a
We
great...
play bingo in church.
Well, sure, but bingo, I play bingo. Bingo in church has come a long way. But that's an issue for the people to decide. That shouldn't even be a question here. I mean, it shouldn't even have been an issue. This process, the procedure had been followed. It wouldn't have been, we wouldn't even be sitting here talking about that.
In your video yesterday, you put out yesterday, you said you agree with the governor, you were going to carry his agenda of fighting, illegal bingo.
Illegal bingo.
All right. We all know that his agenda is to get rid of all of it because he's got his own personal agendas. So you're saying now you support it, the people should be able to vote on it, but yet in your video you say something totally different.
I'm against illegal. Is anybody here for illegal gambling?
No, we want to, if it's illegal, get it out.
I agree. We're in agreement there.
But we all know the governor wants it all out because he's got his personal
Like I
reasons.
said at the beginning, I'm not on the governor's staff. I'm not part of the governor's
But you said you agree with him and you was going to...
on illegal gambling, just like you said, illegal gambling.
One more thing, and I'll let you go. You're talking about the ethics of Troy King and how bad he is and all that. Did you not charter a couple planes and come down here to Geneva County, Houston County, fly a bunch of commissioners and judges down to Orlando to look at the toll roads, trying to sway them to help your group put these toll roads in? I mean, how unethical is that, in my opinion? If you did that, what's the difference?
Well, I'm not the Attorney General of Alabama, number one.
No,
That's pretty basic.
running for it.
It's a pretty basic difference. I mean, the Attorney General is the one that, I'm a lawyer trying to create jobs in this part of the state. I'm going to do everything I can to create those jobs. If I'm the Attorney General, I'm not going to get in an airplane and go down there and then give them an opinion.
No.
That's the situation.
What I'm talking about, everybody's, you know, you're
That's
talking
pretty
about
clear.
being at this party and this, that, and the other. Well, you know, I look at it about the same way. You know, you can look at it how you want, but you're running.
Well, I know you want this development. I'm just trying to tell you, there was a way that, I know we need it, and there was a way to do it. And the way to do it wasn't, unfortunately, and I had nothing to do with it. We wouldn't even be sitting here talking about it if it had been done the right
Well,
way.
as far as I'm concerned, in Houston County, that electronic bingo is legal, so we're carrying on, you know. I mean, we need it there, and we're
Well,
going to
the
take it.
great thing about our system is the courts will decide that. That'd be great. And that's the way it ought to be.
I don't think the court should decide it. I think that's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I hope the people will just get to decide. I mean, I think that's this is a
Should've got to this
democracy,
year.
you know.
But when the governor threatens to hold back stimulus money, if you vote in favor of letting people
Well,
vote,
you got to get the governor down here. I'm not the governor.
that's what I'm saying. It's
I'm
all-
not. You got to get
But it
him.
puts a dark eye on your whole party, you know.
Well, see, I mean, now you got to get the governor down here, really, because you're getting into his territory, and I'm not.
Well, you said you were going to support what the governor said.
I'm against illegal gambling. I'm real clear about that. That's about as clear as I can get. All right, y'all. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it.